Welcome back to Adonalsium. We'll remember our podcast eventually. AWROPE for short. We are talking about the Well of Ascension today, and don't worry, we formatted this one a little bit better. So
we have a script.
There
are words.
We have notes about what actually happened.
We don't have to look up anything.
Instead of you pinching and zooming on what I'm assuming is 17th Shard chapter summary.
No.
Well, I used 17th Shard chapter summary to help me with the outline, make sure I didn't miss the order of events. I had recently reread this. I know it's been a couple years for you.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Who are you telling to pause?
The copyright strikes.
Oh, of course, of course.
You did the 3 seconds or whatever were allowed, which is all it takes is 3 seconds, right, guys?
That's all I need.
And then strike, you're out. 3 strikes, you're out.
I got married, dude. All I need is 3 seconds.
The wedding was a lot longer than that, Michael. I was there.
Yeah,
remember I
what about
handed
after
you
wedding?
your sweaty rings?
Yeah, the one that got stuck.
Yeah,
your
you'd
thumb.
think my natural body lubricant would have helped get it off. This is way...
Yeah, you're not gumpy enough. We can intro again and say our names this time.
Welcome back to Adonalsium. We'll remember our podcast eventually. AWROPE for short.
AWROPE. I was part of that.
You were part of that. I'm Tony.
I'm Mike.
And we are totally not redoing this. I'm probably just going to keep the whole first part in.
It's pretty great.
So, we're welcome. This episode contains spoilers for Mistborn Era 1, Mistborn Era 2, Mistborn Secret History, and Stormlight Archive Era 1, including Wind and Truth. We're going to be talking about Well of Ascension. We have a nice outline this time to keep us on track, which has helped so far, obviously. So, let's get into it. Michael, what do we know?
Well, I'll tell you. What we know leading up to this is Lord Ruler said, hey, guys, y'all are being dumb.
Before I die, I got a little something for you.
I may have been ruling for like 1,000 years and, mistreated some people, a little misunderstood. I'm just an old man, okay, guys? I'm just an old man, confused, and I'm really hot.
Really hot.
Have you considered how hot I am?
But when he takes the makeup off.
Yeah, when he changes, yeah. But he warned them that he was holding something back that was worse than him.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, that's weird. Let's make sure the Ska don't kill all the nobles.
Something bad is possibly going down. But he was still kind of a piece of shit.
Right.
I don't know if I could take his word for it. But it was very foreboding about what could he possibly be holding back, especially being alive for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, we have Orser running around as Kelsier, spreading the myth and starting a religion, essentially.
Put in that Bill Wurtz quote, you could make a religion out of this.
We also have Ellen seeking power and trying to rise up to his ideals and beliefs. Marsh is a friendly inquisitor now. All the ATM geodes are destroyed by Kelsier, which is a huge discovery and deal. More on that later. And Vin somehow hold on the mist as if she was born from it.
Molded by it.
I didn't know the mist until I was merely a child. By then, it was nothing but dew.
Mountain Dew. Do they have Mountain Dew in schedule?
Yes.
Good. I would like to visit. I think it'd be fun.
Mountain Dew me.
We are breaking these into parts so that way we can kind of discuss big chunks of this without trying to recap the whole thing and then go back and recap it and talk about things we liked and didn't like and whatever we did last time. It wasn't bad, but it could be better. So, part 1, I have labeled Crazy Ass Start to the Book. It's chapters 1 through 11. And so what happens, the book opens up and Strathventure, Ellen's father, is positioned outside of Luthadel with 50,000 soldiers. Breeze is nowhere to be found, and Vin meets someone named the Watcher, who has been showing up and following her around, and at this point, he shows up and kinda helps her when a bunch of mistings attack her, which we find out are Set's forces. She uses her last bead of ATM during this fight, which goes to show you in just the couple months that the ATM geodes were destroyed, they're already out of ATM.
Yes.
And I can't imagine Vin has been finding that much at this point, which means they were probably low to begin with. Or they had to basically probably do some bribes and stuff like that, or trying to keep people happy with any of the ruling class that did stay. They probably had to use it to like help rebuild from the Ska Revolution and all that stuff going on. Very eventful couple months from what it seems. We then get a view of Sazed. He is traveling to the Outer Dominances as a keeper. He is using the knowledge that they've been storing for 1,000 years to help the Ska populations and people in the Outer Dominances, even non-Ska, even like lesser nobles and things like that, fend for themselves. Teach them how to farm, teach them how to get clean water, all those things that they'd have never had to do for themselves now that they are a freed people. The Church of the Survivors around, and they are constantly harassing Vin. Part of the work that OnceMore was doing was getting a bunch of zealots to rally around Vin.
Nothing like starting a cult.
Nothing like starting a cult. We've all been there.
Like, oops, I made a cult. Oh no.
Oops. Marsh and Sazed start traveling together, and they go to the Conventicle of Saran, which is one of the places where the Inquisitors would hang out. It's just one of in the Outer Dominances, it's one of the conventicles. And Marsh is starting to act a little weird. He was still very much himself in disguise at the end of book 1.
Inquisitor in disguise.
Yeah, and so Marsh is acting a little strange.
Which is saying something, because he has spikes in his eyes.
Yeah. And sick forehead tattoos to show that he was once an obligator. Obligator tattoos, honestly.
Are him and Kaladin related?
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you think that means the same thing on schedule that it does Roshar?
That would be.
What if it says baby girl? On schedule.
I was about to say the symbolism between the two symbols of being a slave and being forced into obligator was awesome, but baby girl is probably what it means.
I think my point was a lot more insightful and succinct.
No, honestly, I have no counterpoints.
I also, and this is just a side note from, we have this kind of like light eyes versus dark eyes, Ska versus the nobles. Brandon likes his power dynamics a lot.
Push and pull. Up and down.
Me and your mom.
And Gabe's mom.
Man, Gabe's not even in the show.
We still got his shit
still
on
roasting his mom. Gabe is our good friend who plays Darkin the dwarf, and Darkin and Gabe are practically the same person. We always make Gabe do the recap because he doesn't pay attention or remember anything.
Never. It's great. It's always hilarious.
I think he had one good recap because I think he prepped for one.
Yes, he did. He did prep for one.
I think Mike or Brian actually gave him notes. You're Michael, not Brian.
I'm Mycicle.
Mycicle.
Mm-hmm.
And Gabe is
Darkin. Gabraham. Yes.
Yes. Anyway,
yeah.
I like that comparison. Mm-hmm. Very familiar worlds, even though it's different.
Baby girl.
Yep. Baby girl, of course. Okay, so Marsh acting weird. We see at one of the council meetings another terrace woman, the first other terrace person we've ever seen besides Sazed. You know that they're around. They're often stewards, but I don't ever see one until we see Tyndall show up at this council meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and her name's not Stewart. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Right. Her legal name, her government name is Tyndall Big.
Ah.
Or Tyndall Large. Whatever's funnier. That one. Is this what comedy is boiled down to? Choose your own comedy.
Is this thing on?
What's the deal with mistings? Okay, so all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a second army appears, and it's Set's army. And they're standing on the wall, and they're like, who is that crazy motherfucker riding his horse towards the wall? And it is none other than Breeze Ladrian running up and getting attacked. And at this point, Vin had been messing around with different alloys, trying to find what we now know is duralumin. And she doesn't know what it does, but the chemist was like, I'm pretty sure that this would work, but I'm not sure what it does. And then we find out that duralumin just enhances whatever you're using and does a giant explosion using all your metals to give you a large thing. So she goes up there and uses a duralumin steel push to like blow back a bunch of art. Duralumin steel jump. No, Peter jump. What is so funny, Michael?
Growling, helps you reach a peak, so you explode.
You've been cooking up an edging joke this whole time.
I've been edging that joke this whole time.
Thank you for watching the fourth and final episode of. Okay. So anyway, Duralaman.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Duralaman jump and then a Duralaman steel push to go save Breeze. And then they get back. They said that Breeze is like, well, I joined Set's army so I could actually get them to attack. You see, this is helpful because now Straff won't attack if there's another army that might attack them in retaliation. Because whoever attacks first might lose.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to get weathered in the Siege of Luthadel, and then the other stronger army is just going to come wipe you out. So honestly, pretty big brain move.
I see your army, and I raise you my own army.
Right. Just wait till later when there's a third army.
But wait, another one.
But what about third army?
What about third army, indeed?
And then part 1 ends with bones found in the Keep Venture, meaning a Khandra has infiltrated within Ellen's ranks.
You don't think they just keep bones around?
I do.
Like always. Yeah. Have you taken some Duralumin?
Duraluminum?
Mm-hmm.
Duralumum?
Well, it says Duralumin.
Duralamin. Look, I read
Have
the
you
audiobooks
taken-
like a real reader. I know how to pronounce things.
All right,
So
let's
that's
talk
part
about
1.
it. Yeah. Let's talk about part 1.
Part 1, pretty crazy.
Starts off right off the bat of just like, what are they doing and how do they continue to lead and get people to like follow what they were trying to set up? Because you always see, especially in other stories, like they take over and then it's fade into sunset.
Mhm.
Not enough gets explored about what do they do afterwards to actually, keep
Right.
their promises.
You get the
and-
happy ever and
Yes.
happy ever after.
Mm-hmm. But how do they get food? How do they get resources? How do they lead people and break these stigmas and ideals and traditions that they've built up in their society?
Right. You have a ruling class that has now been knocked down several pegs, put on the same level as the people they were enslaving for 1,000 years. And they now have to try to navigate that world where they need to try to live in peace and harmony. And hold for applause. Please clap. And it's going to be very, very, very difficult. There's already the foreboding message of the Lord Ruler at the end of the first book. But now, before any of that comes to play, they already have a ton of problems of now whoever's left from the ruling class is trying to vie for power. We have Straff Venture, which we never really saw much in the first book. We did, but not much. I think he's really only mentioned. I don't know that he's ever actually given even a line that I can remember. I can't remember anything about Straff Venture in book 1 being mentioned, except for the Ventures run the ATM mines.
Mm-hmm.
So Straff's now a whole economic system has collapsed, though he probably has ATM stored up considering he ran the mine. And he's
a quality guy.
Oh, great guy.
Up top, like honestly, he should have been ruling from the beginning.
Right.
Shouldn't have left.
World's best dad. Put it on a ribbon, slap it on his tunic. That's him. He's him. And then we have Set, who we don't know a lot about, but we do know that he sent assassins after Vin and to try to destabilize, because it's going to be a lot easier to take Luthadel if the freaking girl who killed the Lord Ruler, allegedly, a lot of people don't believe it at this point. If she's out of the way, probably be a lot easier.
And she's just a girl who's got some mental issues. She's not even that big of a worry.
I'm just a kid.
And life is a nightmare. Or Scadrial's a nightmare.
It is kind of a
And
nightmare.
now it's like 3 seconds.
Dude, that was really good.
I'm trying. So like also, so on top of that, you have all these armies that are showing up who are already questioning their power and promising stability and a pathway back to what people have been used to for 1,000 years. So exploring that dynamic of how do you keep people believing in your ideals and moving forward to a better, more cohesive society with all of everybody being equal and providing value and making sure people are treated well when somebody else is just promising the ruling class, like, hey, we just go back to the way things were.
It was so good for so long. And now
Why
these
break
darn
things?
kids ruined it for us. They killed our god and disrupted the balance.
Which, wild of, they killed our god.
Yep. Effectively God. Ruling for 1,000 years. About the closest to godhood.
Mm-hmm.
And what we know about the power of the
Yes.
Well of Ascension and what happened, and a lot of that is... I should have also printed out the epitaphs for this. Though reading them all would take a while. But the epitaphs we will get to in a second and where they come from. And we can see how, again, just like the very first book where some of those legends came about in the epitaphs for the beginning of the chapters, we see even more of that here.
Yeah.
And we get to see how it's like perverted and twisted compared to what actually happens and what we find. It's such a cool start. And then we also get one other question in this of where are the Inquisitors? If Marsh says that all the Inquisitors are gone from the Canticle of Saran, where are his brethren? Because we know that there's many.
Brother.
They're expensive to make,
Where
so there's
art
not
thou?
like thousands,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd imagine there's probably another dozen or plus running around. They're probably as rare as Mistborn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, also,
They're probably pushing.
where are the
Probably
other
not
Mistborn?
running.
Right. They're probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm just helping.
Reference. Nice. So, where are the Mistborn? Where are the Inquisitors? Two big questions going into part 2. So, anything else of part 1? Oh, yeah, another question, what are the Terrace people doing now that they are free from the Lord Ruler's breeding programs and stuff like that? And everything he was doing. So,
and then what are the Ska thinking now that the ruler is gone? The mists are coming out. And we also see that exploration of Sazed also trying to both find himself and teach people to learn how to be self-sufficient, because they're also thrusted into a world that they don't know. And they've been raised, again, for 1,000 years in this constant system where they are lesser than, and now all of a sudden they are on their own. There's chaos thrown about because now God is dead.
and that's another parallel then to tie this even more back to Stormlight and some parallels. The end of Rewards of Radiance, when Everstorm comes and frees all the Parshmen from Dole form, they also have a choice to make.
Yeah. I love parallelograms.
Parallelograms, yeah, my favorite type of quadrilateral. The rhombus is pretty cool too. Don't get me started on trapezoids though.
I like teddygrams more though.
Parallel to Stormlight, Parshmen, freed, and they have to choose a new path. On their own, as free people, or with Odium and the Voidbringers.
And for the Ska people, like, do they just live on their own and learn from Sazed, or do they just start playing in bands?
Right. Bowling for Soup. Are they technically Ska? I think they're technically Ska.
Probably.
1985. Great song and year.
So, and then it ends with Bones being found in the palace, which is a really interesting side plot that they just kind of dump in there.
Yep. They say that there's probably a Khandra amongst their ranks, and from what we know about what we saw with Orsur, who is right now in a dog's body.
Woof.
This happened. Well, we find out what happens with this. I like how I'm trying to avoid spoilers as if we're not talking about other series and shit down the line. At this point, bones have been found. We know why. It's because Orsur was killed by Tensoon, and we don't know about any other Khandras yet. But we get our first glimpse at maybe a different Khandra. Though we did hear that Straff had his own Khandra. A Khandra spy in his ranks that, because I think Ellen talks about how he, in the first book, that his father employs a Khandra. Maybe that's somewhere in the second book, but we get some more information about them.
Yeah.
So a lot of plot points already budding. A lot of questions that we got some answers to, and a lot of new questions forming. And so, Mike, let's talk about part 2.
So, part 2. Sazed and March find plates that were actually engraved versus written down anywhere with the story of Alendi, and he takes a charcoal rubbing, so he rubs one out to get the stories.
Right, rub one out in the canticle.
Mm-hmm.
That was like pour one out, makes the jacking off. Go on.
Vin starts to notice that the mists are coming earlier and tries to confront the mist spirits and actually forms a bit of an attachment and feels some of its pain and begins to fear the mist and be afraid of it. Tyndall begins tutoring Ellen, which also leads into one of my favorite references my wife and I say all the time.
My wife,
when Ellen asks her, "What if I can't lead or rise up?" And she's like, "Well, kill yourself."
Pretty much.
That's pretty much what she said.
Yep.
And we're just like, damn.
She's like literally says do or self-die.
Mm-hmm.
Tyndall's kind of awesome.
Tyndall is
telling someone to do that to themselves is not awesome.
It's not awesome. But her attitude.
She is exactly what is needed at that time.
Yes.
For Ellen, who has to now go against his father, the rest of the nobles, the Ska, including the crew, who are Ska. Scary.
If the crew was their own Ska band, what would their name be?
The Mistings and the Accountant.
Pretty good. Ocean's Mist. Because they're a crew, heist crew, Ocean's 11 and Misting.
Oh, Ocean's 11. So wait, this sounds really familiar.
Anyways, Ska villagers begin dying from starvation and dehydration, also fearing the mist.
Yep, they're staying in their houses and literally are so afraid that they are letting themselves die in their houses and start cannibalizing corpses. Like the band Cannibal Corpse.
They really should just form a band.
They really should at this point. Where's Hoyd? He's got to get this guy.
Yeah, Sazed uses his steel mind to book it back to Luthadel because he's like, oh, fuck. Zane tells Ellen, we know Zane now, and crew that Straff wants to meet at his camp.
Yep. Zane says father would like to parlay, though he doesn't actually know he's his brother yet. That's not talked about till later, but we now know that the Watcher is another Mistborn. We now know that Mistborn is under Straff.
Not physically. Don't be confused.
No, under Straff is all the Ska attendants he's been raping to make misting children. Great guy.
Father of the Year.
Honestly,
he's got two awards. On his
Nobel
now.
Peace Prize and Father of the Year.
the Nobeliest of Peace Prizes.
Niall Peace Prize.
Scadrial Peace Prize.
Niall, like Niall Bond.
No, I got it, but that's a different planet. So I said
you're thinking
planet.
of Nalthus.
No, I was correct.
No, Nile's not a planet.
No, Nile is a
Nihilism.
river in Egypt
that flows north. Okay.
So, anyways,
so the Nile Bond. Sorry. Let's try to do this like a try not to laugh. Just make jokes. Just don't laugh.
Okay. Zane is crazy.
I fucked up her.
Wow. I'm very disappointed in you. Just like
My
Straff
mom.
Venture.
Oh.
And
My mom.
Gabe's mom.
Gabe.
Zane is crazy. And we've
Crazy quotes.
did we learn here that he's a Helen's half brother, or does he just hint at it? I don't think we learn it here.
I think we do when he's talking to Straff.
Ah, okay.
We as the viewer know it, but Vin and Ellen do not know.
Got it. Vin and Zane start dueling, and he starts trying to convince her and talk to her about basically their existence and trying to convince her to slowly start planting the seed about some future switching of alliances and such.
Right. As we know, these might be the only two Mistborn left because there already weren't many. They were very rare and very powerful. Like a royal family having one was like, oh, fuck.
Yes.
And Sean Alariel and the other Mistborn that was with Sean died. So every known Mistborn that we found is dead now, but Vin and Zane.
And he's so zany.
He's so zany.
Sazed on his way is taken captive by Kolos.
Oh, yeah,
which
he's
they start
hiding in a
getting all the
tree.
Kolos. Yep.
Yep, and then the scouting party finds him.
Mm-hmm. Josty's Ellen's old reading buddy club is their leader. That's right. And then what's better than two armies? A third army trying to come in and take Luthadel, but actually wants to try to ally with Ellen. And states that it's able to break free and continue on to Luthadel. Alrianne comes to Luthadel for a breeze. Lol.
Alrianne is Set's daughter.
Mhm.
So while Breeze was there trying to mastermind this plan of invading Luthadel, he courts the noble's daughter like a true bard.
What a baller ass move!
What-
Like, hey, I'm gonna convince you to send your army, and I'm gonna also fuck your daughter.
Which goes to say, what was he more mad about? Was he more mad that he found out he was a double agent, or more mad that he's boning the daughter? Why was Set actually mad?
You mad, bro?
You mad, bro?
You're so mad right now.
So mad.
Vin begins trying to figure out who the Khandra is. So she begins scanning everybody and looking for signs, starting to become suspicious of everybody on the crew. And it really builds up a lot of mistrust starting in this chapter after that discovery in the first part. We start getting confirmation of the different powers because she's able to sense it. Sazed arrives and tells them, holy shit, there's a third army of 20,000 Kolos who are insane and can go crazy at any moment.
Oh, I love the Kolos because they're known to battle range. Once they get in a frenzy, they get worked up to where they just have to go kill until they either kill enough of each other that they start calming down, or they kill enough like things that they're happy.
Yes. And then he and Tyndall look at each other and Spider-Man point.
Right.
Because they know each other.
Because they're both bald.
And they're both bald.
Actually, I don't think Tyndall's bald. I picture her as kind of like, what's her name from Doctor Strange? Tilda Swinton.
Sick reference.
Tilda Swinton's character.
Yeah, played by Anya Taylor-Joy.
Please help me. What is the name of that character? The Oracle. The something. I'm begging you, please. I'm dying here.
I was trying not to laugh. The Sorcerer Supreme.
No, that's the first Harry Potter movie. Thank you for your help.
So, Straff tests Luthadel's defenses while the girls are shopping. Vin and Ellen parlay with Straff. Ellen bluffs that Vin will kill him if he is harmed. Pretty good bluff.
Yeah, she's hiding behind the tent flap.
But also pretty good bluff, like to push against your own father who is invading your city, and also be like, hey, don't worry, I have a gun that is also a nuclear weapon. Sick threat. Carry a big stick. Vin emotionally manipulates Straff during their conversations. Straff orders Zane to actually kill Vin because he is scared of her. Asks for additional Allomancers to help back up Zane during the fight. And while they were gone, Ellen got voted out as king.
Yep. Outed by his own laws that he made as king, and now it has to go to a vote for a new one. And that's kind of where part 2 leaves off. So there's a lot more that happens here now.
Yes.
So we start getting the beginnings of the story. The epitaphs The epitaphs at the beginning of the chapters are the plates that Sazed did a rubbing on. And if you're really paying attention, they will start not lining up later. The mist spirit shows up, and on a more Cosmere scale, this is our first glimpse at a shard of Adonalsium in Mistborn. I don't know that in Elantris we actually ever see any sort of manifestation of the shards that were there. Dominion and Devotion were shattered by Odium forever ago, and the powers there are manifestations of those, so there's no vessel for those shards anymore. So this is the first time we are seeing a real, actual embodiment, a personification of a shard of Adonalsium, even though we won't know that term Adonalsium until the third book is the first mention of Adonalsium. So Cosmere implications start now, and it's really, really cool. she'll continue to see that for a while. That'll be a character that recurs, this mysterious mist spirit, and Sazed actually sees someone convulsing from the mists and is like, that's weird. They're coming earlier in the day. They're starting to hurt people. That's never happened before. Could this be related to killing the Lord Ruler? We learn more about Strathventure and how he's had his own breeding program of sorts to make powerful mistings, and the Allomancers he's going to be sending to help Zane kill Vin are his own misting children.
Father of the year.
Father of the year. Send your children off to die.
Third pen.
Yep.
Another blue ribbon right on his chest.
Zane is crazy, is what they talk about. Is how he's been crazy.
He's crazy.
He's known he's crazy his whole life, and I put crazy in quotes because
no, he's crazy.
He's crazy. Yeah, he's crazy. And then he's constantly meeting with Vin, and is basically like, "Let's get out of here. We're better than everyone else. We're like the only two Mistborn left, probably.
We don't even need them.
We don't need any of this.
Mm-hmm.
We are above the Skaal and the Nobles. We are no longer their tools." We have,
and then we have more of digging into the concept of Kandra not being on their side. So I like the exploration of what if anybody you know is a Kandra,
right? And or Sir, quote unquote, is acting a little bit more friendly to Vin. They are a little bit more conversational. She is kind of asking him questions about Kandra. How would I know if my friend is a Kandra? Oh, allomancy doesn't work on us. So then she tries to start seeing, Breathe was caught soothing someone.
Mm-hmm.
We have Ham, he burns pewter. They startle him and he burns pewter. So she knows, because she can sense the vibrations of burning metals. It has a frequency that she's pretty attuned to. So she knows Breathe is burning, he's a, not brass. What is the other one? There's brass and, oh my God, I used to know all 16 because there's 16 metals, which we learn.
We'll fix it in post and put it on screen.
Yeah.
And by we,
I. And then we see Jassie's leak house. So we finally get to see what happened to Alan's readings buddies, because there's, I think, 3 or 4 of them that would meet during the balls, the big, beautiful balls. We're bringing it back. I need to add the ball counter.
We're bringing it back.
Take it back now, y'all. No laughing. They meet.
Balls.
They talk about their ideal government. And we now see Ellen in the position to lead by the examples he was trying to set. That idealized government where Skaal and nobles are on the same footing. What would that look like? Those are all things that they kind of laughed at him before. They're like, I told you, Skaal are just normal people. Villette Renew works with them. And she's like, they're normal. I knew it. See, they're people too. So funny.
Groundbreaking content.
Absolutely. But we don't know where they all went. And now we see Jassie's Lee Call balding from stress, managing an army of 20,000 Koloss with this crazy plan of, if Alan just lets me in Luthadel with 20,000 Koloss, we can defend it and all will be okay. I can control them. Absolutely. We haven't even seen really what Koloss are capable of. Just a legend or some discussion of them from the first book, when they talk about the Lord Ruler snuffing out Skaal rebellions with Koloss. But now we see them in the flesh, and they're various sizes. Koloss are so cool. They are one of my favorite humanoids, like creatures in the Cosmere.
Yeah.
They're so cool. And then we get to learn about how they're made in the 3rd book, and it's like, oh no. Oh. And then Era 2 Koloss are even cooler. So yeah, we see Koloss for the first time, and that's crazy. And then we get a little peek into Sazed's past with Tyndall, because there's more than just I'm of the Synod, you're of the Synod, like we're co-workers. They were roommates. Maybe not actually.
God, they were roommates.
And there seems to be some sort of intimate connection there. That what we know about Sazed, he's like a Ken doll. Got
bumping nubs.
Just bumping nubs. Woo! And then we also do see a softer side of Tyndall. We only see her as the super stern. I study biographies and I study rulers. And Ellen, you are no ruler, but we can make you one. You are not there yet, but we can get there. We see this stern but nurturing side. But then we see this really soft side of her when she goes out shopping with Alrianne and Vin in the markets right before Stratventure tests the wall defense. He just sends like a few people just to see how they respond. And we see this like really beautiful, like nurturing, sweet side of her when she's not in work mode and, save the world mode.
Mhm.
And it's really awesome. And we also see Alrianne is like, she's this airhead, ditzy girl, but she seems to start having a little bit deeper of a personality. And you can tell she's smart in a social setting. You can tell that she's very kind of quick with her tongue. Alrianne's a little bit more than meets the eye, and she's actually a really, really fun side character, I think, and is, Wax's long, distant grandmother, great, great, great grandmother or something.
Reference.
Reference. Spoilers.
I really like the way this chapter, this section kind of shapes up and develops a lot of the early different storylines and plot points that have been hinted at. So you have the background going on with the Khandra and being suspicious of everybody in the crew and sowing distrust. You have the issues with leading the people and having everybody trust in what you're trying to do while you're making discussions with the pending armies that are sending to try to take over Luthadel and rule over this empire using the main city as the launching base for that. And then you have the same rule structure that Alan was trying to put in while also trying to talk down the armies, and he gets usurped and removed as their leader while he's doing all that. So I think all of the dynamics that are really explored in this section really help continue off that explosive start from the book of just like, we have two armies now. We have a third army who has this quote unquote controlled, but not like could easily become uncontrollable killing machine of 20,000 Koloss that are also pending on this one city while trying to teach people. Alan's trying to become a better ruler, and you're really seeing a lot more depth to these characters and how they hold up to such strife and issues that are happening, and how do they really rise up to meet the occasion.
Right.
So I really love the way this section kind of explores some of the downsides and some of the other stuff that could potentially happen, and like especially with Vin and Zane and that dynamic, putting in stressing her out even more, giving her doubts to the plans and thoughts that they have, especially with her future with Ellen and just existing as a person with everybody else.
We do learn during this part as well that Ellen did propose to Vin, and she pretty much said no, not because she doesn't love him, but because she's also lost in this new world. She lost Kelsier.
Mm-hmm.
She is with Orsur, who she is so mad that he was the only one that knew about Kelsier's plan and ate Kelsier's fucking body to do this.
Mm-hmm.
She has so many emotions. And then with that scene at Stratventure's camp, where she uses Duralumin to threaten, basically like in conjunction with Ellen's threat, uses a Duralumin emotional allomancy on Straff to get him so susceptible and terrified
Mm-hmm.
and bluff and buy them more time. But that's also when she now is like, am I just a tool to Ellen?
Mm-hmm.
Am I just his tool now? Because now he's like, oh, she'll kill you, speaking for her. And that's now very confusing to her. So now we start seeing this pull.
And then you start seeing the relationship between her and Orsur also start forming.
Right. Orsur was very in Era 1 and early in this book, is
Not there.
Not really there much, doesn't answer any questions, doesn't seem to have any sort of sense of humor, just a sense of purpose. Reduced to a dog's body. Very upset with that. Wolf. And so now we have part 3.
What happens in part 3?
Part 2 is pretty crazy. But part 3, every time I read a Cosmere book and I get through a big chunk of it, like whether on a bike ride or whatever, where I get to listen to it a lot and something crazy happens, I'll walk into the bedroom where Mary Jane is and be like, Babe, this book is getting crazy. She's like, it was getting crazy yesterday and the day before. I was like, yeah, but this time it's getting crazy. No laughing. Hold for laughs. Please laugh.
Nope, won't do it. Mm-mm.
You snickered. I won't count that. So part 3. Then, in looking for a sense of purpose, she also starts digging into the deepness. What does that mean?
How deep?
So deep. So deep.
Ooh,
Can't even
woo.
dock properly. I just missed 2 because
Yeah, bitch.
I thought my vestibular senses were a little better than that. Boom. First try. I didn't even look down that time. And if I did, it was blocked. Us missing each other on Fate's Road.
r/misconnections.
Is that like where people try to find someone that they met at like a concert? And he's like, this girl looked at me and smiled and I think I'm in love. Does anyone happen to know who this woman is? That
was very specific.
No, that's like every other post.
No,
it's like, I was at a festival and I danced with this girl for one song and I forgot to get her Snapchat, or she didn't have her phone. She probably had her phone.
Tony, did you post on Misconnection?
No.
You found me.
Mike, we've known each other since first grade, elementary school. We covered this in the first episode. Did we ever find
from Redacted?
From Redacted, when you doxed us in the first 2 minutes of our show.
Anyways, what else happens in part 3?
Yeah, you know, X and Y coordinates across the street from this. This guy runs it. You were there when you were this many years old. Yeah, I remember.
Your current address and your social security card.
I don't need that. We're not going to have social security when we're older anyway. So
you're still ranking.
Okay. So Vin begins researching the deepness with Sazed, using his rubbings, really studying his rubbings very intently. Starts to think that maybe she's the hero of ages. She's starting to kind of feel this mist-spirit all the time. She talks about how the darkness is, she thinks the mist is the deepness and it's coming back in, not the darkness, the deepness, my bad. And then during this time, they're getting prepared to start pitching themselves for who should be king, start kind of starting the discussions of that. It's not election time yet, but it is discussing who are we putting up, who's going to be casting their vote in, who's going to be putting their name up as king. And at one of the meetings, Set's there, and he's like, I've been here the whole time. And he says, I want to be king. Ellen, you're a garbage king. Penrod, you're a cuck. I want to be king. I don't think he actually said that, but it could have. And then he says,
probably in one of the earlier drafts.
Right.
Penrod, you're a cuck.
Yeah, I'm sure cuck is in Brandon Sanderson's lexicon.
They have to. His editors keep looking at him and going, Brandon, you can't keep using cuck, okay?
He's like, but I've called him a soaker 8 times. Don't laugh. Oh, so anyway, yep. Set's like, I'm here.
Don't laugh.
Don't laugh. My army's here. I'm gonna post up in one of the abandoned keeps. I think he posts up in like Keep Alariel, since that whole family is dead, and one of the keeps of the royal families that was either murdered or evacuated, he posts up in. We get the first names of Preservation and Ruin. Orsur says that the Khandra are of preservation, but humans are of ruin. And does not elaborate further, but they are capitalized. So as a reader, you're like, interesting. As an audiobook only reader, I missed so much. Capital C connections, capital I intents, capital P preservations,
and capital C cuck.
Capital C cuck. That's when you get like a throne to sit in the corner instead of a little stool.
Is Ellen the cuck?
That's book 3. Me spreading lies. Ellen is so preoccupied with everything going on that when Vin tries to show up and say, hey, I've been studying the deepness and this is what I found, he's like, honey, I don't exactly have time for this right now, but I'm very proud of you. And then her feelings of insecurity of not feeling good enough for him or anyone starts to really ramp up, and she starts hearing Reen's voice again, which had been silent since before
Since he's been gone.
she has not put that earring back in since they killed Lord Ruler.
Since he's been gone, she can breathe for the first time.
Because Reen's voice isn't in her head.
Mm-hmm.
Reen's voice. And she started wearing her earring again and started hearing the voices again. Interesting.
What a crazy connection.
Yeah. Zane shows up, confronts Ven again and says, I'm Ellen's half-brother. Says, Strap sent me to kill you, but Kolos are a day away and I'm not going to kill you. Again, we're more than this. Think about it. Hey, think about it. We'll send a thumbs up war on Facebook. We'll keep in touch. And when you're ready, we'll make it Facebook official and we can get out of here.
Yeah. I poke you. You poke me.
We're a happy family.
Yeah.
What were you going to reference?
Zane's going to tell Ellen at some point. He's just going to be like, hey, brother.
Woof.
No, that's Orster.
Woof.
Anyways, what else happens?
We actually get to see a side of Breeze that I really love. Because up until then, Breeze is just kind of very, very typical kind of bard personality, playing with people's emotions, kind of a rich, douchey guy. Makes Spook get him wine a lot and that kind of thing. And we see that he silently, we get a chapter from his perspective. There are some Ska refugees from the Outer Dominances that have come to Luthadel. Tindwyl and Sazed are visibly frustrated. And there are soldiers drinking, and everyone is very stressed. And he hangs out with the refugees, not because he doesn't have anything better to do, but he thinks that using his powers to zinc and brass, he's a zinc person. I remembered.
I thought he was a Ska.
You can't just call him zinc people.
You did!
I can't.
He's in a Ska band, okay?
He is bowling for soup. I can't think of a single. Yugoslavia. That was a local band for a long time.
Good soup.
I think I knew one of the members, maybe the drummer. They weren't very good. Anyway, they used to play at a lot. Not doxing myself. That's a public place. Oh, wait. So is the daycare.
Yes, it is.
We're going to blink. Because that place is very close to my house. Or was.
We're going to blink 182 that. Yep.
Right. So we see that side of him. Love Breeze. Breeze, in my reread, became one of my more favorite characters of the crew. Because he has a lot of kindness that you don't see in the first book that really starts to shine. And Breeze is pretty awesome. Really love him a lot. So I loved seeing that side of him. And things are getting worse. Vin thinks something's sketchy with Lord Demu, sees him sneaking around at night, and then confronts him and follows him to a Church of the Survivor campfire of sorts where they gather and pray to Kelsier.
They gather around the campfire.
And they sing their campfire song.
KELSIERSONG song.
Wait. Is that the right amount of syllables? KELSIERSONG song. No, we're one off.
Pretty close though.
We can adjust the rhythm. Fully produced Kelsier song coming up soon.
That's all you, baby.
You don't want to help?
I'll contribute the voice.
And then comes Election Day. So we now know Demu is not a bad guy. Is not a Kandra. We now know that
he's not Defoe, he's Defriend. Demu is Defriend.
Demu is Defriend. Willem Defriend.
He should play Demo.
Do you like my joke that I just did?
Hey, what happens on Election Day?
Okay, and then Election Day happens, and Straff's Alamancers attempt to kill Elend and Set at the council meeting. Vin goes sicko mode with the help of Orsur, which is also weird because Kandra aren't supposed to help injure humans.
That's so crazy.
It's so crazy.
Wow.
Orsur just is really so much different.
Upstanding Kandra.
You're right, and he's just so much different now. It's almost as if
No. There's nothing else going
Orsur
on.
is Orsur. And Elend and Set. Elend fends off himself with his dueling cane. Set is cowering in fear. At this point, Vin thinks that Set and or his son might be Mistborn or secret Allomancers or have a secret Allomancer in their rank. But they're really defenseless and don't do anything during this time. And also, Set's a paraplegic. He's in a wheelchair. His legs don't work. So she thinks he's faking it because he's a Mistborn. But then he doesn't help. And she's like, that's really weird. And so she kills everyone. Takes a lot of damage because she can't fling coins with civilians around and innocents around. Orser helps protect her. And Ellen gets to see Vin actually fight for the first time. Blood all over her face, splits some guy's skull or cuts off his head, blood everywhere. So she is just tearing through these people covered in blood. And Ellen's like, I don't know if this is a fear boner.
I want to marry you.
He actually is kind of shocked, terrified of her even. Not really. It's more of a shock factor than it is true horror at her. He just has never been around like that much bloodshed. He's never seen what a Mistborn can do in a full fight.
And I think it's really good for him to, as a character and for that development, to see the actual, like, what it can take to fight for what you believe in and what war can lead to. And he can see, like, wow, Vin is extremely capable and effective at doing this. And yeah, it's a bit unnerving, especially when you see it the first time, because before he was just hearing stories and like, different perspectives on what people saw and what they did, but not ever seeing it firsthand. So he really gets a slap in the face of like, this is real. Like, this can impact me and I can also potentially die. And Vin just killed like 15 people.
Yeah, I think like 6 or 7 dedicated Allomancers showed up. And she took down, I think, all of them. Pretty nuts. Nice. 7 or 8. How about that? But that is also the start of a different issue that continues to arise. Is Vin now just a weapon to Ellen? Ellen is so impressed by this that he kind of will end up using her kind of as a sword moving forward. And that does not help Vin's insecurities, but we'll talk about that more in the next couple parts. So, part 3, pretty sick. Thoughts?
Election. Penrod wins. Also interesting outcome. Because now how do they deal with the dynamic of somebody else who doesn't necessarily believe exactly what he also believes to lead Luthadel through 3 impending armies? But yeah, another great section. It's continuing on to the storylines. You can see the threads that were built in the beginning, and something I love is like he continues to expand and keep those going, of like increasing doubts for the characters, insecurities, really exploring a lot of the human emotion and making the characters feel relatable and understandable. Of yes, it's frustrating because you can't understand what everybody is thinking, and we know what Ellen really thinks versus what Vince sees, and we know that there's might be some outside influence that's helping guide and push her emotions and pull on her emotions.
And they're young.
And they're so young. And that's another thing too. You got to always remember is that they're 17 and 18.
Yes. Well, I think Ellen's like, I think it was like 19 and 16 in book 1, and she's like 17 and he's like 20 now. So still, do you remember yourself at 20? Do you remember yourself at 17? When I was a 17-year-old girl.
When I was
a young girl, my father was an obligator in the city.
Sent an army to my city.
So yeah, you did Ellen, I did Vin.
Seeing more development for the characters and how consistent it's been of that we're just getting more of the different storylines. Nothing has been forgotten about or discarded. Everything continues to grow and expand at a natural pace. And I love to see the development of this book and how it's proceeded with all these characters. So yeah, another great part. Great section.
Yep, very, very strong. The stakes are getting higher and higher. Straff is getting more desperate. Set's obviously desperate enough that he entered the kingdom relatively defenseless.
Yes.
And then they allowed him to basically bring his whole army in. So, fun stuff. All right. Chat part 4.
Part 4. So now we have Penrod leading. Straff makes an offer or deal to Penrod to let him rule in Luthadel for the ATM stores. So Straff is also looking for the additional ATM, and there's rumors that they have it stored somewhere inside Luthadel.
That was part of the bluff that
yes.
Ellen and Vin did when they went to the camp for the parlay with Straff.
Correct. So Straff is still under that assumption, which continuing the lie there to help their case. Zane does actually commit to poisoning Straff. Won't kill him directly and confront him, but he actually does poison him. And Straff, as great of a dad as he is, kind of a badass moment of holding it together before he literally died, and then was saved last second by his assistant.
The Scowl woman that she's now old and saggy and stuff. She's probably like in her 30s, but he's a pedophile. So
fourth ribbon, best dad.
Fourth.
So Orser tells Vin the Lord Ruler was the one that created all the Kandra. She actually tests and uses Duralumin brass and push on him, and Orser's like, hey, yo, don't do that.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
He's like, I said too much.
Hey,
I gave too much
you're
away.
Really strong. Please don't do that again. Tindwell and Seiza try to puzzle out why Rashek was sent to the stop and kill Alendi at the Well of Ascension. Ellen visits Justice, stabs him as a hostage to escape, and then kills a
small
Koloss.
Koloss.
Yeah.
Sorry. I said skull. Small Koloss.
Small Koloss, yep. And finds out how Justice was actually keeping the Koloss in check with some good old fake coins. I like to imagine like the little chocolate gold coins.
Yeah. That aren't actually made of chocolate. They're just like fat and wax.
It's just ash. It's just all the ash they just collect.
Right. Delicious.
Zane lies to Vin about Demo betraying Ellen for Set. Also, huge plot point of like the relationship and dynamic between Zane and Vin still trying to relate to each other. Zane pulling on all of Vin's insecurities and manipulating her too. Like all shitty men pulling on emotions again, manipulating.
Yep.
Takes a bead of ATM from Orser, who told her not to go. They go get revenge against Set and murder so many people. They just go on a brutal killing
Pretty much
spree.
Kills every guard he had in the keep that he brought in. Because I think he was able to bring in like an honor guard of like 100 or 200. And they killed like dozens of people between both of them.
Because she's still under the assumption that they have a Mistborn or they Set himself is a Mistborn. And then she confirms that was not the case, and she did just murder a bunch of people. Now it is an army, and they are invading. They weren't attacking at the time, but
they were in kind of a parlay.
Yes. And then Zane goes, I gotta skedaddle, like his zany self, and Vin goes, oh, I kind of fucked up, and hides.
Right, because she realized that that she was lied to, and now feels horrible that she let herself be influenced in such a way. And goes and hides in a cave or in some rubble.
Barney rubble?
Barney rubble.
Set's army, like...
Is that guy that's like this and he just disappears?
Yeah. Just... Orser takes Ellen to where Vin is hiding. She gives the ATM back to Orser.
She threw it up because she didn't actually use it.
And then she also tells Ellen about her earring.
And how she got her earring.
And how it's pierced her.
And her mother was crazy and just stabbed her in the ear.
Just one day, just like, hey, don't you remember when you were a young girl and you got your first piercing? And
Claire's.
And your mom strapped you down in the chair at Claire's.
Yep.
And Claire herself came out and just went with a gun from like 5 feet away, shot your ear.
Right. It was my favorite moment.
Honestly, mine too.
Yeah.
I love watching.
It was a formative
video.
moment, really. You bring it up, I'm getting a little emotional, so we should move on past it.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We can talk about it after off camera.
Do you like how I wrote pierced metal?
No, I know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vin and Ellen separately ask Sazed about love, which is kind of cute. It's also a little frustrating because you're just like, God, won't they just talk to each other?
Don't you love watching communication errors?
It's great. I've never done that ever in my life.
No.
Not even once. Always communicate clearly. Side note, talk to your partners.
Yeah, be open with them, talk to them. That way you don't have to go to the eunuch and ask for advice on love, which I'm sure is a sensitive topic for him too, considering...
Yeah, and that's how you avoid getting strapped down at Claire's and shot with a piercing gun.
It's true. A conversation a day keeps the Claire's gun away.
Yeah,
right.
Keeps Claire away.
right. No laughing.
Zane kills his would-be assassin. Tells Straff, withdraw. Let Kolas get Luthadel. So Zane offers some strategy to Straff even after being threatened and an attempt on his life. And then he just casually mentions that, I have this piece of metal piercing my chest, and I'm still alive. That's weird. I'm sure it's not relevant.
Yeah, not at all.
And then finally, Zane approaches Vin and gives her an ultimatum of join me or die.
Yep.
So, and then she rides off into the sunset with him, and there's no more book.
And that's it. So we'll be back for Stormlight Archive because Mistborn's now done.
Yep. No talking, no laughing. She declines, and they attack. And now we get some more revelations, too, of Vin asks Orser for the ATM, and he doesn't comply. And this is such a big moment of when Zane finally reveals that Orser, who's not really Orser, is Tensoon and is a spy from the Ventures.
Yep. And that then means that this new conjured Tensoon, who has been following Vin around since the bones were found in the keep. And there are like hints leading up to this too. That's like, don't you remember doing this? Conjure have incredible memories. And he asked for Vin to remind him of something, which should have been our first hint at. Huh. That's weird.
The Conjurer we were looking for was the Conjurer we knew.
Right. Pretty insane reveal.
And then she finds a way to Druluminum, blast him to help try to break that influence and connection that he has to Zane and the Ventures. And then she does end up getting the ATM and using it, but it runs out quickly. But she does such a badass thing of faking out the future.
Right.
And stabs Zane in the neck.
Yeah, basically moves so quickly to feign one direction that
she focuses so much of her capital I intent on doing one action.
Right.
That he saw being burning
right.
ATM.
And basically like reflexively did the opposite thing and then stabbed him in the fucking neck.
Which is
pretty sick.
Insane. Like for a character to beat somebody that can see into the future is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And then one of my favorite lines of this entire book is Zane dying. He reflects on Vin, saying he thinks she's special because God never said to kill her. And then God responds saying, of course he didn't want Vin dead. And then last line that we get for Zane while he's alive is, the weird thing is, you were never crazy.
Yeah.
And I love that line so much because it's such a reveal because they harp so much on the details of Zane thinking himself he is crazy and he doesn't know why.
Yep. And everyone just thinking, yeah, he's
crazy.
Just a little crazy.
Tensoon's like, well, I kind of fucked up my contract, but also I need to go home now because, well, the guy that had my contract is now dead.
And he killed someone.
Yep, and he betrayed his people because he killed the Kandra. But what's also really interesting, though, is that even though he had his own contract, and again, this is like going back to how well he writes characters and develops relationships, that even though he was contracted to do this and he betrayed his own people, he still formed such a strong connection to Vin that he felt guilt and ended up still helping her in the end. And this is a creature that is completely bound by contracts to follow whatever direction they're given.
Nearly on a spiritual level.
Like almost like impossibly cannot break that directive.
Right.
And still found a way and still felt guilt at the end about it. And then with Zane gone, Vin's like, I don't even know why I was having doubts about this fuckboy crazy guy.
Right. Because he showed his true colors.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't actually care about her at all.
Nope. And then they get married.
Yep. Says it performs a rite for them from, I forget which religion, but one of the many he knows.
One of them. And then they discuss about seeking out the Well of Ascension. And really, he's just trying to misdirect them away from the impending siege that is currently happening.
Getting them out of the city to protect them. Ooh, yeah, part 3 or part 4.
Quite a bit.
Pretty.
Yeah, thoughts.
The end of Zane, the end of that era. And we see a little bit of a push forward for Vin. She's not fully healed of all her insecurities, but she's feeling a lot better now, knowing that Ellen is kind. Ellen is good. Ellen tries his best.
Ellen, best boy.
Ellen is best boy. Ellen and I love me a good like golden retriever boy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not as much as like Adolin.
No,
but
Adolin is truly best boy.
Yeah, Adolin is best boy, golden retriever boy. But there's some parallels there. I think
again parallelograms.
It's crazy. Brandon Sanderson loves geometry.
Mm-hmm.
He said so.
Math.
Isn't that right, Brandon?
There's nobody there.
He's my spren. I had metal piercing me.
You were never crazy.
I was never crazy. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot happens. We see Vin's frustration really come to a peak and lead her to do some really awful things. Objectively, still awful things. It was a force that was not hostile, and she slaughtered people. And so much so that Set just dipped and ran. He's like, my entire army, my main forces effectively destroyed, and you guys, I'm pulling myself out of this war. We do see now that Vin is a very morally gray character. Not a good guy, not a bad guy. A very confused, pained woman.
Teenager.
And a teenager who had to grow up very quickly, has never really known a strong era of peace. Even these past couple months are probably the most peace she's had, and it's still obviously been a lot, and things are now just getting really, really, really bad. So we see this side of Vin who doesn't know who she is between Villette Renault, between Vin the urchin, Vin the noble impersonator, Vin the Mistborn. Who are those people? What is she? She doesn't know, and it's frustrating, and it's scary, and it's causing her to act in ways that I think ultimately she regrets a lot of.
And I love the consistency because like other books, you'll see that the heroine or the main character will always end up making the right decision. But Vin doesn't necessarily always make the right decision and acts brashly and quick to judge and respond and internalize and judge herself on her decisions too. And her frontal lobe's not even developed yet. Like she truly still does feel like a teenager in these moments that had to grow up so quickly and was like, hey, you're a teenager. You haven't processed you've experienced so much life in such a short period of time, and you're not given enough time to emotionally process everything too. Also, you're a nuclear weapon.
Emotionally unstable girl with a tremendous amount of firepower. What could go wrong?
The army getting murdered.
That could go wrong.
Could go wrong.
It may. We haven't seen it yet, but wait. Oh yeah, no. Set's done.
Yeah. But yeah, I love another. Honestly, every single section's been great. But we finally get some of the payoffs for some of the storylines too. Coming to a conclusion, having big reveals of Zane being influenced by this other entity that we don't know about, or unconfirmed, might think it's the Mist. And we have the reveal of Orser is actually Tensoon, another Khandra that was with Strathventure, and that he's been there the whole time.
Yep, for at least probably I think a couple weeks at this point since the end of part 1. So a good amount of time has passed.
Yeah, at least 2, maybe even 3.
4?
lots of stuff happened. Lots of reveals. A character, like a main character, died, a part of a subplot. That was a huge influence.
Mhm.
And now they're actually pursuing again something else outside of the army that's a little bit more tied to the overall world and more of the god stuff, which will be interesting.
Yep. So now we have, and unless you count, because we now know what these voices are. We now know what Reen's voice is. Now, as in us right now talking about
Mhm.
this. In the book, you don't still know, but from a Cosmere wide standpoint, we now see the influence of the second Shard of Adonalsium we have been exposed to. We saw preservation.
I hate
The
when they expose
Mistspirit.
themselves.
Don't expose yourself to unwilling participants like Vin and Reen.
And me.
And you.
Don't laugh.
I'm not.
Please don't laugh.
And then we see Ruin. What we now know is the Shard of Ruin, who can communicate through people through a mysterious third form of investiture that won't have a name until the third book. We are seeing its effects. We've seen the Inquisitors. We've heard Reen's voice. And now the god has made themselves known. And kind of intentionally, Brandon has now let us know there is something here.
Mm-hmm.
There is something actually influencing the world. Is this now tied to what was released
Not released yet.
Not released yet. Is this the touch of whatever Rashek, the Lord Ruler,
Mm-hmm.
was hinting at? We also don't know that the Lord Ruler is Rashek yet, but we are learning about the characters of Quan and Alendi and Rashek through this epitaph journey, through all these parts.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're at part
5. What happens?
Oh, part 5, not 6. I almost skipped through to the last part. Okay, so the 4 prepare to leave, the 4 being Vin, Ellen, Tyndall, and Spook. But Tyndall and Ellen kind of get into a little spat. Tyndall says that he's abandoning and thinks that searching for the well isn't a good idea. He's like, okay, then get the fuck out of here. We'll go by ourselves. And then Ariane's like, I'll join. And then they go to leave. Vin protects them from archers. And Ariane's like, okay, cool, thanks, bye. And she dips out. And then Spook and Ellen move on. And Spook says because at this point, he's starting to, I think this is probably where he starts burning tin a lot. He's
Mhm.
getting kind of paranoid. He's kind of constantly on alert. We kind of see what happens to him in book 3, or what's revealed to have happened to Spook in book 3, starts happening here,
Yep.
I believe. And he's like, there's something following us. And Vin says, oh, that's the Mistspirit. I can feel it.
Yep. And he's like, sometimes I feel like somebody's watching me. And I got no privacy. Oh, whoa. There you go.
Oh, well. Ooh, if you will.
Ooh, ooh.
So then Sazed tells the crew that Tyndall is staying. For some reason, we know it's because she loves Sazed and doesn't want to actually leave him during this time. She'd rather stay fighting with him than to leave. Straff, feeling ill, summons Amaranta, and Amaranta reveals, so she's cooking up something for him, and he's like, something's not right. You were sleeping with Zane. And she says, he never poisoned you. I got you addicted to drugs, and you're experiencing withdrawals. So then he kills her, then cooks up his own concoction of stuff, and passes out. And then it says awakes, and I obviously never finished that section, but he awakes like 3 days later. And then we learn that Alrianne actually went to go get Set to help and to come back to Luthadel after Vin ripped apart and scared him away. Alrianne's like, Father, you've got to come back. Clubs reports that the Koloss are going crazy, beginning to rage. They start prepping Luthadel for an oncoming siege.
Yeah. They start to rage like Mosh Pit, right? Marsh Pit.
Marsh Pit. Rage against the Mistings.
Rage against the Luthadel.
Rage against mine kind of went with the original band a little better.
Rage against the nobles.
Mistings. The Mistings are
Rage against the capitalism.
We can all get behind that.
Yeah.
Okay. Mistspirit shows up in the tent, standing over Elend, and Vin's like, holy shit, what? And tries to stab it. It doesn't work. Also, earlier in the book, the Mistspirit touches her and causes her immense pain. Weird. Spook then says 5 people have been following them, and they find out it is Jastes. He lost control of the Khandra, started following Elend, and I think this is technically where we find out that it was fake money.
Mm-hmm.
And says that he lost control of them, and he went to go find Ellen to try to like parlay and get safety. Ellen's like, "Are you kidding me? 20,000 Koloss are now about to start rampaging on my city," and he kills him. Kills Jastes. I don't know what happens to the rest of Jastes' crew, but Jastes is now dead.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a little side of Ellen we hadn't seen before. He did go crazy and kill a Koloss earlier in the book.
Yes.
So we see that he's a little bit...
And he's defended himself against the
right, that's
assassins.
True.
But we do see like him actually making a decision as a leader and realizing that he can't trust somebody.
So after Jastes is executed, Spook gives them the big reveal that they were sent out to be protected, and so that way they didn't have to be in Luthadel when it is attacked and inevitably falls, because
they just can't deal with that much.
They weren't
so much.
They kind of consigned themselves to death.
Yep.
Which is sad. Or if it's a slim chance, so being without them is probably the same as being with them. Little do they know how Vin will end up changing the tide of this. Vin also realizes the pulses are getting weaker as they get closer to the Terrace Mountains where the well is supposed to be. And she realizes, oh shit, the Lord Ruler remade the world. So he changed the geography and then built his city on top of the well. He moved the Terrace Mountains and built the well, built this city on top so he can keep an eye on it. And it became so obvious to her.
And they were just like, oh, well.
Exactly. So they start beginning the return. And at this point, Spook is really starting to doubt himself too. It's something I've read to mention in here, but he's just like, I'm just Spook. They don't even want me in the city to help. They sent me away with you guys. He's very kind of down on himself, and we don't really get any Lestibonus development.
Yeah.
That's his birth name. Wonder how he got the name Spook. I think it was a name that Kelsier gave him.
I think so.
I think it was his nickname for him for some reason. Maybe because he's like skittish.
Spooky guy.
Or he's just a weird little guy.
He's just a weird
little guy. I love
Zane.
Spook. We love Spook here.
Spook's great.
And so they begin the return. Vin's like, okay, well, I can get a lot further than you guys. I'm going to go on ahead. She starts Peter Dragon all the way back to Luthadel. And during this time, the siege is now in full force. Breathes is soothing the soldiers because it's not working on the Koloss. Clubs is commanding the troops. And Sazed gets to one gate and he's like, hey, are you going to do something, Mr. Nobleman? I forgot your name. And he's like, why don't you do something? And Sazed's like, I guess, and starts taking over. Yep. He taps his he taps his pewter at Steelgate. Mix those up there. Got Big Swole, and he literally, literally one punch man's a giant Koloss. He punches a pretty large Koloss and kills it in one hit, rallying troops, and they start defending Steelgate. Then reaches a village, pretty much out of pewter. Like right when she runs out of pewter, she finds a village and she makes her own. This is one of the coolest parts. We talked about this with Goodball of how sick it was. She took 2 or 3 different horseshoes and basically juggled them in the air so that she could push off them and then pull them over her head, land in front of her, push off that one, and did that a bunch of times. Wasted a bit of energy and time at first, and then gets it down quickly and is able to just do that all the way to Luthadel. And on the way there, while this is happening, Sazed temporarily is able to get Steelgate closed, increasing his weight, and Steelgate eventually just breaks through anyway, and the Koloss come in. Tin Gate falls. That's where Tyndall is, and we don't know her fate technically yet. Zinc Gate breaks, and Breeze sees a Koloss kill clubs. And then Koloss invade Keep Venture and kill Doxon as he's retreating. So we've now lost, for sure, 2 of the main crew. And the fate of the newest, kind of main character, Tyndall, is unknown. Straff is back up and out and he's feeling great, better than he has in a while, and he is patiently waiting out the battle. Set has decided he would rather support Straff than to try to fight Kolos with Luthadel. Luthadel is out of allies, and they're out of options. But miraculously, Vin shows up as soon as Sazed's pewter mind empties, and Sazed sends away the Ska that were sitting there. They're like, the first, no, not the first witness. That's what they call him. But the oh shit, I forget what they call Vin. I just read this. They're like, oh, Lady Air. The Lady Air, she'll return. She'll help us, just like Kelsier did. And lo and behold, they show up and they see her enter the city, start killing Kolos, and they start fighting, running out of pewter. They are trying to hide away and keep hasting. And Vin, as a last-ditch effort, uses her Duralumin and blasts them with brass, just like she did to Tensoon, and realize she can control them. So now we realize, okay, the Lord Ruler had control of his Kolos and his Kandra through very strong Allomancers, and a metal that was lost for this reason.
Yes.
He hid away that, it's not the 11th metal, but it is another of the 16 metals that were lost to Mistborn and things like that. That they now know was how you control these weird creatures. Sazed finds... Oh, so first they start going around and using Lord Penrod's soldiers. They start finding Kolos. Vin follows around, gets every single Kolos, with, I'm sure, a couple thousand dead, under her control. And then Sazed finds Tyndall's body. Finds her body, cannot choose a religious rite for her, because now he's lost faith in all of his religions, which is his specialty. It's a big deal for him. And then the next morning, the soldiers and humans band together. The soldiers and Kolos are outside of Straff's army. We get one of the coolest scenes, and I think the entirety of the Cosmere, one of the most badass scenes. Vin is blasting through the air, carrying a Kolos's sword, landing, strikes through both the Straff and his horse. Poor horse. Horse didn't really deserve it.
No.
But he just happened to be there and cuts them in half. Alrianne then says, well, Father, if you're not going to help, I will, and starts running into battle. And Set's like, now I have to go save it because my stupid daughter is running into battle all by herself. And they are able to dominate the rest of Straff's forces. They make... Vin then lines up Penrod, Set, and Gennaro, who is Straff's lieutenant, and makes them bend the knee to Emperor Elend and swear fealty. Because when diplomacy doesn't work,
brute force does. A sword through a person and a horse.
Yep, and then that's another big morally gray part. You are now ruling by force. Wasn't the whole thing that you didn't want to do that, Elend? Desperate times call for desperate measures, but this is also a very interesting moral dilemma that we now face.
What a section.
What a section.
6 chapters. Just so much happening of them being sent away to be saved, and then Vin going, fuck that, I'm going to go save them and fight for them too. And doing this crazy Naruto run across multiple cities to reach back to Luthadel to help turn the tides of the war. We have main characters, like so much happening. I remember reading this section that it became almost feeling numb as the actual ramifications and threat of a war coming to fruition on main characters that you wouldn't have seen actually being killed off.
Yep.
And the willingness of the author to lose some of these characters and their stories, while they still had their own arcs and stuff too, it's great to see a willingness to not allow anyone to be necessarily like bulletproof, like they're main characters, so they're not going to die. So like there's actual stakes. That's what I'm looking. That's the word I was looking for. The
juicy,
steaks.
medium rare steaks.
Oh no, my steaks too buttery. Yeah.
My steak too juicy, my
Dude, man,
lobster
that's
too buttery.
There we go. Yep. And you see those characters die, and they help push the story and change direction for other characters too. Tindwell's death, absolute gut punch.
Oh, yeah.
It hit so hard, and the ramifications of that death to have such a huge impact on a character who was so devout of their beliefs and trying to teach people with some inklings of like some doubts of like as he was trying to reach the ska, being completely broken by this event.
Especially because we see Tindwell and Sazed. It's something I don't think we touched on, but at some point they are doing more research on the deepness together as well, and studying the prophecy and how it doesn't make sense, and how things are just starting to like not really line
Mhm.
up. They start really digging into that of why kill Alendi? It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
More hints that there's something fucky going on
Yes.
between.
And they also form a connection while they're doing that. They start rekindling what they used to have, and you start seeing their relationship start to grow more, which leads to such a even more emotional impact for her death.
Right. And we get that scene that's so she's like, I will stay if you want me to. I need to go return to Terrace. But if you tell me to, I will stay. Have a backbone. Stand up for yourself like you did to the Synod at first. Tell me to stay is basically what she did. And he did. But ultimately ended up paying the price for that. She may not have survived on the way home to Terrace, which is something we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk about soon in the next part because of what's happening in Terrace off screen right now.
Yes.
She was kind of in a probably damned if you do, die if you don't situation. But the fact that she was willing to also be a rebel, because Sazed's a rebel amongst his people. He is not a traitor, but he is
He's a rebel with a cause.
a rebel with a Wilson. Don't laugh. So yeah, he's contrarian amongst and somewhat hot-headed, and which is so funny because Sazed is so level-headed, but amongst his people, he is irrational and too fast to act on his emotions over logic and things like that. So Tyndall being basically saying, I want to be more like you, so tell me to stay and I will betray the Synod and stay here with you too. Makes that so it's hard to talk about that in a recap because there's so many little details that are put in that make those conversations and relationships so beautiful. And seeing Sazed feel like a purpose, because he started to feel kind of empty even going around. His work as a contrarian was over.
Mm-hmm.
He overthrew the Lord Ruler. They said he couldn't do it, and he did, but now what? He didn't have much of a purpose. And now he doesn't believe his religions anymore. Any purpose he thought he had left has now been squandered, and he doesn't believe in a single one of his religions. And we'll struggle with that even through the next book. So we see the start of a very different Sazed.
Mm-hmm.
A very heartbreaking moment for us readers. And we have Emperor Elend now.
Mm-hmm. And now we have Emperor Elend. Good.
So we are going on to our final part here. Part 6.
Strap in.
The siege of Luthadel is over. They are licking their wounds.
Yep, they have taken over another army and have now imparted a new emperor into power. So Ellen now sees the Mist Spirit, which is interesting, actually interacting and is pointing north, presumably away from the well. And then as soon as Spook arrives, it disappears.
Right, because they're still coming back. Because
Yes,
Vin covered a lot of ground. So they're still coming back from being out in the Outer Dominances.
that's right. And Ellen has been told, I am the emperor now, without him being there.
Yep.
Ellen and Spook do find terrorist refugees. Leading them away from leaving from that place, Tathingwen.
Tathingwen, yeah.
Perfect. And then Inquisitors had attacked there, killing the Synod there. So we see if Tyndwell might have left, she might not have made it because now the Inquisitors, we find out where some of them are, at least. They wiped out or tried to wipe out people.
Right.
Sazed is beginning to notice the more inconsistencies with the prophecies as he tries to pick up that work again. Vin says the Lord Ruler changed the geography and obscured the Well of Ascension's location, but notice that it feels stronger in Luthadel.
Mm-hmm.
So she begins to look forward at Critic Shaw, with Ellen, Spook, Ham feeling the pull. They find a food cache and a map of the Final Empire.
Yeah, there's that wall, and
Mhm.
she uses a Duralumin iron pull to get it out of the wall and opening up this chamber.
Of secrets.
Right.
With Statland City circled, and the Mist Spirit points Sazed now towards the center of the city, and it follows him to Critic Shaw, but it can't go inside, or at least it stays outside. Sazed does find Marsh, who says he shouldn't have come and wishes he knew why he had to kill him. Marsh steel pushes him via his bracers to the wall, which is insane because you shouldn't be able to control a metal mind. Or is he wearing?
They're not embedded in his
That's
skin.
right. They're not embedded any.
The
yeah.
Lord Rulers were.
Yes.
Which is why you couldn't push on him.
Correct.
But just loose bracelets? Oh, absolutely.
And then Marsh pushes Sazed's metal minds into him, allowing him to heal and fight back. So we start to see that Marsh is being influenced by something else as some of Marsh still breaks through whatever is controlling him.
Right. There's confusion.
And then Ham finds them and knocks out Marsh, which hell of a punch. They go find Vin.
He is a thug.
Mm-hmm. Vin and Ellen find the well, and they find a single metal bead in a clay disc. And then the Mist Spirit shows up and stabs Ellen in the stomach. And as Ellen is dying, Vin takes up the power at the well and removes her earring from the pain. And it finally allows her to absorb the power without any undue influence, which we'll learn more about later. And Sazed sees this, but he can't get there in time to stop anything. And instead of keeping the power and reconsolidating it and reshaping the world, he lets it go. And all we hear is a booming voice of, "I am free." So, nothing bad. So the well is drained, and the Mist Spirit points at the bead and points to Ellen, and she feeds Ellen the bead and gives him metals, and he begins to heal.
Yep.
And that's it.
And Ellen is now a full Mistborn.
Which we don't know at that time. We don't know what it does. We just know that he's healing and absorbing metals all of a sudden.
Yep. So, shorter part. It's only a couple chapters, but
still huge revelations.
Massive. We figure out what happened to March after he and Sazed parted ways earlier in the book at the Canticle. No, that's a planet. The whatever of Saran.
Yes.
Tabernacle. Not tabernacle either.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Conventicle. There we go. Found the word. Conventicle of Saran. We don't know what happened to Marsh after that.
Mm-hmm.
No words. There was rumors during this time that there was a Inquisitor in the city, and there was a well that was poisoned. There's other things that are happening at this time that are kind of small plot points that
are like destabilizing like different cities.
Right.
And
a well has
communities.
been poisoned. There was Inquisitor spotted in the city, but they didn't really amount to anything. It was just there's something happening here.
There's poison in the water hole. Yeah.
They're poisoning the water hole. Isn't that something Woody says?
Yep.
In Toy Story? Nice.
Reference.
Good reference. So, woo! So the many Terrace people die.
Oh, yeah.
Which means a lot of keepers are now dead. As far as we know, there already is not a lot of keepers.
No.
And with Tyndall dead and a lot of the Synod dead,
Sazed's the last one.
I think he actually is the last true keeper.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one of the last full feruchemists alive. I did make a mistake in our first book where I talked about, I was like, oh, every feruchemist is a full feruchemist. That's not true. A full feruchemist has access to all the metals like Mistborn do.
Yeah.
A fairing has access to a single. which when the Lord Ruler made Mistborns and Mistings, they were modeled after Allomancy, or after Feruchemy in that way, following those kind of same separation. You either have it all or only have one. So me retroactively fact checking. Yeah, crazy stuff. We see the Mist Spirit shows up to Ellen, points north towards Terrace. We can only assume that the Mist Spirit was just trying to keep him away.
Yes.
Keep him and keep Vin away from the well. Let it go away, because the Mist Spirit, as we know on a note more cosmic, especially when you get into Mistborn Secret History. If you haven't read Mistborn Secret History, you'll skip this part. But I will make sure you know that the spoilers. We know that the Mist Spirit is Laris. We know that that bead is Lerasium, which is how the Lord Ruler made the original Mistborn.
Yes.
Back in the day. Those beads, the god metal of Laris of preservation makes full Mistborn. We see that, but we just don't have a name for it yet. We don't even really have a name for it officially in books. It's just known as Lerasium because of ATM is based after AT, and it's ATM. So many Cosmere kind of implications starting to happen. We now have a shard that is free of his prison, and we do not know what's going to happen next. We don't know at this point what happens to Marsh.
No.
He is knocked out.
But the reveals on this too, especially not even knowing the Cosmere implications or what was released, because at the time you're reading this too, without the context, you still are like very misgiving about the mist. You don't know what it is, and it just attacked Ellen. So
it's hurting people.
It's hurting people
all around Scadrial.
It hurt the main character Vin. So you see her still battle with not understanding or fully comprehending what is occurring, and going with the gut instinct from the outside influence that she's not aware of. And the book ending with such a big cliffhanger of I am free is insane. Is such a great like hook to want to find out what was released. What has been influencing it? Was it the mist? The mist is still right there. So if it wasn't the mist, then what was released instead? Because the mist still ended up helping them anyways and helped bring back Ellen back to life.
Yeah. It's now the Lord Ruler's warnings about something worse being kept back, and everything he did was for the good of humanity. He may have had a point. Not everything he did was necessarily for the point of evil. It was just very cruel, because we learned that he reshaped the world, but he was a fledgling god whose mind was constantly expanding. So he had to correct mistakes as he made them to reshape the world into something survivable when he took the power at the Well of Ascension 1,000 years ago. A baby god correcting the toddler god that is then correcting, or well, an adult god that's correcting a teenager god that's correcting a toddler god that's correcting a baby god. And that's why Scadrial ended up so fucked up with the knowledge he had then. Could he have remade a better Luthadel? Could he have made a better Scadrial?
Would he have been a better person?
Exactly. But he had to, we then, and this is more in the third book, but we start realizing, Lord Ruler was doing something and was preparing for something. There's food stores. There's things that are circled on a map in this food store. It's in metal writing, and we find out why in the epilogue, where Sazed returns to the conventicle of Saran and compares his rubbing to the plates, and they don't match. So at first you're like, well, why couldn't he just remember that? But as you store memories into a metal mind, they kind of go away. So he took the rubbings, then studied the rubbings, and put that memory into his metal minds. So that's why he didn't make the connection that the original etchings were just different. And the original one says, Alendi must not reach the Well of Ascension, for he must not be allowed to release the thing that is imprisoned there. The thing being
Fantastic Four. Yeah.
The thing from Fantastic Four is locked away. And now he says,
Well of
it's
Ascension.
clobbering time.
Yeah.
Does he say that?
Yep, he does. He says, I'm free.
It's clobbering time.
Again, first draft.
Right. You know, I think he should have kept that in. I thought it was pretty sick.
Way to undercut that line. I am free.
Right.
It's clobbering time.
That would have been so funny. He doesn't even say I am free. He just says it's clobbering time. Would be a
It just starts beating the shit out of everybody.
Oh my god, that'd be so fucking funny. That's my new headcanon.
Vin harnessing his power and releasing it, and you just see the thing rise up out of the well.
And then so now Seiza now realizes, oh, that's why Rashik killed Alendi. He was going to release something that they knew that they would call the Deepness Ruin, because Alendi was being manipulated just like Vin was. Just like they all were.
Just like Zane was.
Just like Zane was. Everyone has been marching to his beat this whole time. And you find out more about just how he was able to do that in the third book. But we see the start of that now.
Mm-hmm.
That this thing has been waiting patiently for the moment to release itself from its prison.
Dude, you think 1,000 years in the well gives you like such a crick in the neck?
His spine's probably ruined, am I right? I'm just gonna
add
put
that in post.
fart noises.
Balls.
And so, at the very end of the epilogue, Ellen and Vind are reflecting on the thing at the well. I think they're standing on the wall of Luthadel, reflecting on what happened and saying that whatever that was might be worse than the Lord Ruler. They said, "Did I do that?
Did I do that?"
And then it cuts to black.
And then it fades to black.
Well, hell of a book.
What a book. Like, what a great sequel to continue such a solid start for a series. Especially one, and it takes such a different tone and approach for the development of the story. Because the first one's very much like a heist and rising up. And then this is dealing with the after effects of rising up and learning more about the secrets that were being kept behind, why people did certain things too, and getting more perspective on, hey, there's other shit that's happening in this world, and there are gods that are influencing things, not just people having powers in a fantasy world. There is larger implications. And then we see really Brandon starting to approach of like, how do I handle and address and develop a whole unique world beyond just the city and the heist and a rebellion and rising up of people? How do I deal with the after effects, and like what would be a more realistic approach of like, all right, cool, they rose up, they took over. Now what? Everybody's just going to follow that? No, people are used to certain things. Like, it's going to have a ton of friction, and friction's where great stories are told. So we see all of these forces kind of come to a head of everybody wants to rule the world, and people having insecurities, characters actually dying for what they believe in and fighting for more. And you still get that beat of hope at the end, Larasum.
Right.
But you still get the twinklings of hope and uplifting that he always puts in his books. So even when things are at their worst, there's still hope for them to continue and survive and go to a better world.
Right. It's always this really finely tuned balance of dread and hope. It is really beautifully done.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel like, oh, it's all gone to shit now. But there is always something pushing you further. There's something bigger. There's something scarier on the way. Lord Ruler, the impending armies, and now whatever the Lord Ruler was just talking about. The worst, the biggest and scariest thing of them all is now around. And they're only just now really starting to sort things out and having to compromise on their morals and having to compromise on how they truly think the world should be run.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, Ellen's basically has to say, there's not time. My ideal is not realistic right now. Unfortunately, we have to rule via force. And that's a whole nother moral story. Is it still right to do so? Should you always strive to still be just and find that? Or do you give up something to achieve something else? There's a lot of debate about that. They could probably teach a whole ethics course on the decisions made in this book.
And also, we have a 20-year-old who has declared themselves an emperor.
Well, His 17-year-old girlfriend declared him an emperor.
Wife.
Wife, yeah, that's true. At this time, they are married. That's very true. So young.
So young. But great sequel. Like, so much happening in here. So much world building that really, like, this is really where the world is built in book 2. Book 1 is very much like about Luthadel and rising up and establishing some of the people and starting that. But this is really where the whole world building kicks off in the series.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely love the expansion on it too. And I think it's the structure is really well done to get people introduced, and that helps. It really helps explain why Mistborn 1 is such a good book that can be its own standalone. But if you want to get more expansion on the rest of the world and implication, like book 2
The
really
payoff.
sets it off.
Woo!
The payoff is great.
There's some discourse in the community about this book. And I think it's just a vocal minority. A lot of people think that this book could have been an email, which I think is crazy.
Interesting.
I've never viewed this book, even on a reread, I've never viewed this book as weak in that regards. I still think of the 3 first books, I think it's a very close third place.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it goes 1, 3, 2, but it's really neck and neck. I don't know why people think that book 2 feels so unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Any trilogy, book 2 always suffers.
Yeah.
And that's the case of pretty much like almost every series. Is book 2 does struggle a bit because it is trying to move storylines forward and create more details, but it's not getting to the end point. Now, do I see, like, having heard that, I can understand why people might think that and have that perspective. I don't necessarily agree. I love the description and development for all of these characters. Yes, they leave Luthadel to only come back and then retake Luthadel again and then release everything else going on there. But it helps drive the story forward and puts it to where it's not just the gods that are doing the influence. It's still people are involved in so much of the story plot of other armies are also trying to usurp and take power. The people are trying to lead and survive. Yeah, but I think it just suffers from book 2 syndrome, which that happens.
Absolutely. I think that's a good point. And I do think even as a book 2, it is a very, very strong book 2. I really enjoyed it a lot on my reread, looking for those hints that I know about Ruin and being pierced by metal. Conjure, like looking for those details again as I reread it. It's so, again, it's so funny how much is hidden in plain sight. The epitaphs telling you the real story versus what they are experiencing and they are trying to follow and how they are interpreting a perverted, corrupted prophecy.
Yeah.
That fits the thing at the wells. It fits that agenda. And they are just dancing to it unwittingly.
Last question to end this. What was your favorite part?
The Siege of Luthadel as a whole is so powerful because we experience loss. We also experience Sazed stepping up and controlling a whole gate himself and fending off Kolos by himself is such a powerful moment that shows just how strong-willed Sazed is as a character. And I think the whiplash you get from that person to the broken man he is by the end of that book, losing Tindwell, he can face off against probably well over 100, probably 1,000 Kolos on his own, whatever that number is, for hours using strength he has stored up for so long, for years, to fight till his very last moment where it runs out and Vin comes, and is still a soft, kind, tender person to where losing a loved one puts him in a downward spiral that we see continue into book 3. I think is a very good character defining moment for him and sets up his growth for what we know happens in the 3rd book at the end. and shows that he is capable of doing the difficult things, and he is capable of being a loving, nurturing leader, and then a nurturing, loving God. So, book 2, The Siege of Luthadel, is lovely for that. We lose people we have grown to care about. We see a bit more Clubs. Clubs was training Ellen to fight at the beginning of this book.
Mhm.
It was something we glossed over. I can't say that Doxson after the first book I had a lot of connection to.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of just a contrarian because he just hates nobles. But we lose Dox, and we know that Dox is a very important person to getting to the where they are now and overthrowing the Lord Ruler. They couldn't have done it without him, without organizing everything, without helping. I think he and Kelsier were the ones stockpiling the things, all the weapons for
Yep.
the Scout Rebellion. So there is so much loss, and the Siege of Luthadel is so iconic for that.
Mhm.
And then we get to see a lot of badass stuff, obviously, too.
Yeah.
With Vin coming in and controlling the Koloss, and just so much happens in that span of chapters. What about you?
Yours was so deep and introspective. I think my favorite part is more of like the hints throughout the entire story of the outside influence and the debate back and forth of, well, I see this physical manifestation of something and it hurt me. So the subterfuge and the themes of not everything is how it appears, theme throughout the entire story, like Orser really being Tensoon and being a spy, but then still growing to love and trust Vin more than his own contract and what he has been programmed to do, learning to fight against it for what he believes in. And again, you see the same thing of not everything is as it seems. We get a huge reveal that he was a spy the entire time. We get a huge reveal that Zane was being influenced by an outside entity that made him go crazy and had such an influence that he was such a dark and deeply troubled character. How much of that influence was Ruin versus Zane himself being good old zany guy. Uh, and then the story of Alendi and Rashek and getting to the well and releasing whatever is there, the influence of stories being changed, all leading to this eventual plan to be willingly released from where he's trapped. That storyline I absolutely love of like, hey, army and all this fighting, all this other stuff too, but here's the real plot line that's actually happening and what's been influencing and driving this the whole time to get to the final words of I am free.
It all feels so small once that moment
Because
happens.
then you're just like, what the fuck is free?
Who's I?
Who is I? So I love like the themes of like not everything is as it seems, and having the biggest plot point be like hinted at and touched at, and not really knowing where it's going until finally at the end, and you just feel that like Ellen's dying, and then now we're like, oh sweet, she got the power, she released it like we planned to, and then you're just like, I am free, and your stomach drops, and you're like, what?
This isn't what was supposed to happen. I didn't think the leopards would eat my face.
So yeah.
Love it. No, that's great. Book 2 has great breadcrumbs that lead to
Mhm.
something bigger. Or Tensoon, very similar to Tensoon's also very similar to Sazed in that regards, as he is, we learn he's of the third generation of Khandra. Again, touched on in the later book. But he is considered to be a rebel and a contrarian amongst his people, much like Sazed is. And that leads to having a lot more free will and exercising the free will and challenging what they know. And being able to do more than what they're assigned to, what they actually believe is right and believe is correct. We know that the other Khandra, the first and second generation, their heads stuck in the mud. and they're not going to listen.
They're literally mud.
They are literally mud creatures. They're more like goop creatures. They're like dittos from Pokemon.
Yeah.
What if they always had a goofy face too?
That would be fucking fantastic.
I think that would kind of ruin their...
Ha.
I think that would kind of mess up their whole infiltration strategy if they
Mhm.
just had a big goofy grin on all the time with
Yeah.
two little dot eyes.
Yeah, we really need to preserve their image. It's been a great episode.
It has been a great episode.
Probably gonna be 2 parts. We've been talking for a while. No,
No.
all one.
All one, baby. And then, so where I like ending the episodes with talking about things we have seen, people we have seen who
Yes.
are not originally from there, and people we see who will eventually appear off-world. So this isn't on the sheet, but I just confirmed this again. Hoyd is in Well of Ascension. Brandon did such a good job of hiding him that he had to tell everyone who it was. There is an old man that is with the Terrace people when they find the Terrace refugees, when Elend and Spook find the Terrace refugees. Hoyt is there. He is an old man. That's all we got.
Sick.
I think he does help
What a cameo.
with something at Luthadel. I'm assuming he helped them escape.
Yeah.
Something we learn about Hoyd. We learn about when he had the Dawn Shard. This is getting into bigger Cosmere stuff. Is that Hoyd always knows where he needs to be.
Yes.
But he doesn't always know what he's meant to do there. So if Hoyd's torment, which is part of that imprint on his soul that Dawn Shard has on him, because at this point, he hasn't... Major Wind of Truth spoilers, just so I remember to tag this later. Hoyd gives his Dawn Shard to Sigzil.
Yeah.
Your torment is like something your your soul is bound to. Hoyd's torment is always knowing where he is supposed to be, but not always what he's supposed to do. So if he's in the Terrace Mountains, and in Tathingdwell, he was probably there to help save the Terrace people. I'm assuming is why he was there, and why he helped them escape. So other people, and we did see these characters in the first book. We see Felt, who is someone from Straff's army that then becomes loyal to Elend once Straff's army is gone. He is a spy who actually informs Elend in the first book about that there's like a bunch of ska and stuff at, I think, at the Renew Manor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he finds out that it's like, oh, she knows a lot about ska and things like that. That same Felt is who we see in the Ghostbloods, in Wind and Truth, who betrays them in Shadesmar and helps capture Kalek. That is the same character.
Wow.
So how he ends up with the Ghostbloods, we don't know. But we now know that the Ghostbloods started on Scadrial. Again, major spoilers. Kelsier starting the Ghostbloods. Thydekar. Felt is probably part of the church. And
is Thydekar and Kelsier the same person? Never seen them in the same room. It's like Childish Gambino.
Oh my god.
Kelsier's
Donald Glover.
Who's Donald Glover? You mean the rapper Childish Gambino?
Yes, I do.
I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, who else is there?
That's Felt. We also see Lord Demu, who seems to be just a pretty normal guy. He was part of the Ska Rebellion. He stayed behind when all the rest of the Ska got themselves killed under not Fenring.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yes, we forgot his name last time too. When they all got themselves killed, he stayed behind, became loyal, became part of the Church of the Survivor. At one point, he was, I think, a Ghostblood, but now he is part of 17th Shard, and we see him in Galadon and someone from Taldane, I forget his name, in Roshar. 300 years later, looking for Hoyd. And they go and bother some people in Eerie. And so Demu somehow gets off Roshar, and Felt somehow gets off Roshar, joining the Ghostbloods, joining 17th Shard, maybe in Ghostbloods before that. We also know that in Wind of Truth, we see full-blown feruchemists on Roshar. His lift takes them down, saving Xyle. crazy shit.
Yes.
And we'll continue touching on these things as we do these episodes of who is where and who is actually who,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not always obvious. Though there'll be a lot more discussion of that in Stormlight, where we get a lot more crossover, and Era 2 of Mistborn.
Yes.
But we're far away from Era 2
Oh,
of
yeah.
Mistborn. So that was book 2.
Book 2.
Well of Ascension
That was great.
is awesome. Any last final thoughts?
Ryan, catch up on the books.
Ryan, read the books. I'm going to say it every episode. Maybe not everyone.
Maybe not. I'm Mike.
I'm Tony. Thank you all so much for watching.
Goodbye.